सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत प्यार भरा आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. Welcome to Apna Radio broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. Each Thursday from 3 to 4, I'm here broadcasting from the studio to the world. Tune me in. सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत प्यार भरा आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. You're very welcome to the program. You're listening to Apna Radio broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. What it means by Apna. Apna is a word in Hindi, Urdu, means your own, and therefore belonging to your own culture, belonging to your own music, belonging to your own news, current affairs. This is all about Indian subcontinent, about India, in fact. This program that I've created literally 25 years ago, over 25 years ago, it's very much alive. I'm alive, and the program is very much alive on air. And I'm grateful to my contributors. Now, Charmain Colvin, who has joined me as a newscaster, who has a passion for India. And we talked about it, her Indian connection and all that. So that's Charmain Colvin. And of course, Sharad Awasthi is our London correspondent, who is from Bhopal, from India. And so therefore, there are two supports. And of course, I have a backup of technical support here in the studio. So I'm the king of the air, as we call it. When you have a good team, you are thriving. And delighted to know that, to announce that now our own Apna Music, a dedicated music program, is also up and running. Imran Khanum is driving on the hot seat every Saturday from 11 to 12 o'clock, when our show dedicated to the music and music lovers, and indeed dedicated to the Indian music. So things are happening upward and onwards, as we call it. So without further ado, I will take a news, because Charmain is waiting in the newsroom. So Charmain, you take it away. And this is the news of the week, called India This Week.
Good afternoon. You are listening to India This Week on Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM. In the latest development following on from the violent attack in Indian-administered Kashmir that killed 26 tourists and injured several others last week, Pakistan's Information Minister Atullah Tarar has said that his country has credible intelligence that India is planning to launch a military strike within the next 2 days. He said that India intended to use the attack as a false pretext for a strike, and that any such military adventurism by India would be responded to assuredly and decisively. The attack near Pahalgaam was the deadliest attack on civilians in 2 decades in the disputed territory. Indian authorities said they had conducted extensive searches, with more than 1,500 people detained for questioning. India has not named any group it suspects is responsible for the heinous attack. A little-known group called the Resistance Front, with Pakistan militant links, which was initially reported to be responsible, has denied involvement. India has undertaken a number of diplomatic measures against Islamabad in light of the killings in Kashmir. One of them was shutting the Attari-Wagah border between the two countries. India has also cancelled visa services to Pakistan nationals with immediate effect. Of great concern is India's suspension of the Indus Water Treaty. Pakistan has said that any attempt to stop or divert water will be considered as an act of war. Airspace between the two countries has been shut down as the tension deepens. At least 14 people, including 2 children, have been killed after a massive fire broke out at a hotel in the eastern state of West Bengal. 2 people were also seriously injured in the fire, which started on Tuesday night in Kolkata city. A special police investigation team is trying to establish the cause of the deadly incident. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he was anguished by the loss of lives and announced financial compensation to the families of the victims. Poor planning and lax enforcement of safety regulations often plays a part in the many deadly fires reported across India. Last year, at least 27 people died in a massive fire at a games arcade in Gujarat, while a few months later 10 newborns were killed in Uttar Pradesh after a blaze broke out in a neonatal unit of a Jhansi hospital. US President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that tariff talks with India were going great and there was a possibility that the two nations had struck a deal. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also said that the US might be closing in on a trade deal with the world's most populous country. India and the US are working towards securing early mutual wins as they push to finalise key components of the proposed bilateral trade agreement before the target of September-October deadline, the government said earlier this week. Productive sectoral export level engagements have already been taking place, with meetings planned at the end of May. Temperatures in India and surrounding South Asian countries are already sweltering in heatwave conditions, according to meteorologists, in what they say is fast becoming the new normal. Temperatures in the region typically climb through May and peak in June before the monsoon brings relief. This year, the heat has arrived early, with a quick transition from a short window of spring conditions to summer-like heat. South Asia, home to 1.9 billion people, is particularly vulnerable. Many live in areas highly exposed to extreme heat and lack access to basic cooling, healthcare or water. In Delhi, where spring offers a short spell of mild temperatures, thermometers have risen past 40 degrees C in April, up to 5% above the seasonal average, according to a report by Climameter, a platform that tracks extreme weather conditions. They say that human-driven climate change is to blame for the dangerous heat seen in recent weeks. Climate expert and co-author of the report, Gianmarco Mengaldo, said these spring heat waves are not anomalies, they're signals. We need to move beyond awareness into action. Delhi authorities urged schools to cancel afternoon assemblies on Tuesday and issued emergency guidelines to ensure water breaks and stocks of oral rehydration salts in first aid kits. Temperatures in Jaipur hit 44 degrees, triggering heat stroke reports among construction workers and farmers. Temperatures are expected to climb steadily across the subcontinent, with more above normal heatwave days predicted, according to the Indian Meteorological Department. And finally, 14-year-old batting sensation Vaibhav Suryavanshi became the youngest player to score a century in men's T20 cricket earlier this week. The Boss Baby, as he is nicknamed in cricketing circles, easily beat the record of 18 years and 118 days for the youngest player to score a T20 century for the Rajasthan Royals against Gujarat Titans. The talented young cricketer from Samstipur in Bihar took down some of the world's best bowlers in a thrilling 38-ball innings that included 11 sixes and 7 fours. Suryavanshi is the youngest player to get a contract at the IPL auction. Rajasthan signed him for $103,000 in December 24, and he's expected to be playing at international level very soon. So that's all from India this week. You have been listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Thank you very much indeed, Charmain. And you packed everything very well in a nutshell, basically. India this week, that's what it is. From the war to the cricket. India never stops. People never stops. 1.5 billion people of India now gung-ho about, attacking Pakistan. And indeed, Mr. Modi, who is leading our country at the moment as a Prime Minister, as the Premier of the India, has actually making a threatening noise, thundering noise is the word, about taking over Kashmir, breaking up the country in 4 parts, Pakistan and all that, forgetting the fact that a few years ago when Imran Khan was being in the National United Nations Assembly, and he said absolutely clearly, and that clip is available on the YouTube if you're interested to following up the story, and he said very clearly that, look, it's not that easy anymore. We are a nuclear power, and if you are picking up a fight with us, don't expect us to sit quietly and knuckle under. This would not happen. It is not the 1971 war. It is not the previous Kargil war. It will be a nuclear war, and what if that means? You should understand. You should have enough brains to understand that the millions of people of your country, 1.4 billion people, that you are boasting about it, that we have a entire country behind you. The united opposition is united on this front. I think be logical and just investigate who is behind that. According to the news that Charmain has put together, that so-called resistance group has denied, and there is no resistance. I think it's a term coined from the Q has been taken from the the resistance group in Palestine and all that. So I don't want to go into the details of that, but this is a severe intelligence, work is going on in that part of the world with the help of third country. I don't want to name names because this becomes very obvious then. But they are, indication Pakistan has got a severe intelligence report that India is bent upon attacking within 2 days. So by weekends, we would know what the score is, and if they will attack, and it will be a surgical strike, as it was a post-Pulwama case it was. He referred to Imran Khan in his speech that there will be more Pulwama. There will be more pretext strike on Kashmiris, on Kashmir and all that, and falsely accusing the nation itself, that the nation has got 500,000, 500,000 people are standing on the border to invade India, to take over, which is all rubbish. That's what he said in his speech. He said, why would we do that? We don't want to do that. Yes, there are a handful of people who have not accepted the fact that it is not an independent, Kashmir is not an independent country. Kashmir should be independent. The majority of the Kashmiris now, after the removal of the 370 and 371 article from the Constitution, is happy to accept the fact that India is progressing, Kashmir is progressing. People are getting benefit of the removal of that special status that only gave the militants upper hand. All of that has been taken away from that. That means that now the progress is happening. Film shootings are going back, tourists were going back, hotel industry is happening. All of that is a sign of progress. And the government is pouring money in to uplift the war-torn country for years and years when Kashmir has been under attack and war and crossfires and things like that. All of that has been changed now last week when this attack took place and 29 lives, so 27 lives have been lost, plus the hundreds have been wounded by some unknown terrorist, so-called terrorist, which supposedly came, according to Indian version, that from Pakistan. But how can they come from Pakistan when there's a line of control, there's a border there? You cannot a bird cannot pass those barbed wire partition, which is between India and Pakistan, what called LOC, line of control. So how can these 6 people holding Kalashnikov came from Pakistan and just disappeared in the bushes of Kashmir Valley? Hello, how easy it was. Was it a cakewalk? Yes, it can be a cakewalk if it's orchestrated, organized, and created by some organized associations related to those who are interested in creating war. See, this is the oldest game in the world, is to create a pretext. And on the basis of those pretexts, this happened with 9/11. 9/11 has been created by certain intelligence of the world in order to attack Afghanistan, in order to attack Saddam Hussein's Iraq. And, it has absolute... So, look at the structure of 9/11. The bombers or the people who smashed the aeroplane into the Twin Tower were 19 were Saudi Arabian national. Now, they also discovered the Saudi passports. Hello. I mean, you've taken the aeroplane full of oil and petrol and everything in the Twin Tower, and then you discovered the passport. So how farcical it was. And then why not you went ahead and destroyed Saudi Arabia? Why didn't you went there and bombed the Saudi Arabia? Dare you not to do that? Because Saudis are your friends, the Americans' friends. Because who you wanted to bomb? You wanted to bomb Afghanistan. You wanted to go to Iraq. And that happened as a pretext for this particular heinous act of inhuman act of 9/11. Similarly, this happened with us as well. Remember Pulwama? Everybody's talking about Pulwama as a reminder of that. And the opposition leader, not the opposition, within the power corridors of India, have been talked about it that it was being used as an election tool. And everybody is talking about it, and it pretty much is common knowledge. So there is no, is on the YouTubes, on so many channels is available. So similarly, that exercise has been repeated. Unfortunately, the innocent lives have been lost for those poor people who had been holidaying in, who had been doing a picnic and holidaying in Pahalgaam, which is a picnic spot of Kashmir. So that's all I have to articulate, because what you need to do is to do your own analysis, own function. The world is becoming a very crazy place when it comes to war and peace. My role as an actor, as a broadcaster, as an artist, is to create peace in the world, not war. Therefore, the 16th Indian Film Festival of Ireland has chosen a theme of war and peace in the world. And of course, in the shadow of Ukrainian war, that is directly affecting us here in Ireland. Yes, indeed, economically, it's costing us something like 350 billion euros over the next 5 years or 10 years period, when the government has agreed to buy the weapons for Ukraine. For what? Ukraine is not going to win the war. They cannot fight with Russia. Why would they? Pouring in, Zelensky is blowing up his chest as a warrior of the Ukrainian. Yes, of course, he is a leader of Ukraine and all that. He has got his people. But look at Putin, what he's doing. He invited the North Korean soldiers now. So Putin has got another agenda. He's a powerful guy. Donald Trump have acknowledged you cannot fight the fight with Putin. And he would not even now use his own people. He would use North Korean people to do that. So this is a global war happening all around us. And we have a phrase. In fact, let me say this word. We have a phrase in Hindustani language called "खरबूजे को देख के खरबूजा रंग बदलता है," meaning watermelon changes its color when it sees another watermelon. Because this is what is happening in the globe. That they're saying that, look, nobody is stopping Putin to go to Ukraine, taking Ukrainian territory. Crimea has been gone. Crimea is now accepted by the United Nations that, yes, Zelensky cannot have Crimea back. J.D. Vance flies over to Greenland with Usha, his Indian woman, to take the Greenland from the Greenlanders. What's going on? So they are saying that if these guys, and of course the blatant Palestinian land has been taken by the Israelis from the poor oppressed people of Palestine over the last 70 odd years, is gone completely. Gone completely. This is the dream land for Donald Trump to develop a Riviera. Well, it's a beautiful land by the sea, and therefore, nobody wants to own this land. Nobody wants to live there. So why don't we build apartments? Why don't we build a Riviera there? Hello, imbecile, stupid people should not buy this kind of nonsense. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted with this kind of logic which is floating around the world. Enough of that. So, considering all of that is happening globally, so our friends in India are trying to actually, and I have no doubt about it, because that's where the mood of the nation is, that if they can do it, we can do it. And we go in and we'll divide the Pakistan in 4 parts. We'll take over Kashmir, Balochistan will be gone, and Sindh will be separated, and so on and so forth. Time will tell what will happen, but if the United Nations could actually put enough pressure on the both side to be calm, because Pakistanis have said that before. We have made a nuclear weapon not to be put on the shelf. It is meant to be used if our country will be attacked. So, what can I say? There you go. This is what is happening in the world out there. But Sharad has got another story to tell us, because that story is also a very pertinent story about the Indian farmers.
Today, we will talk about less important people. These are Khalistanis, the prominent group of Sikhs linked to separatist activities in Punjab, anti-nationals, terrorists, Maoists, Naxalites, goons, stooges of China and Pakistan, and last not least, Andolanjivis. Yes, we are talking about Indian farmers who have been addressed by these names. In a nation that proudly stands as world's leading producers of pulses and rice and wheat, the very hands that sow the seeds, it is not easy to hear these attributes. India's farmers, the provider for over 1 billion people, find themselves longing for fundamental dignity, justice, and empathy. And for those who have forgotten how food comes to their plate, these farmers toil in dry and barren fields under scorching sunshine, often 40 degrees Celsius up to 55 degrees Celsius, only to reap a harvest of despair for themselves. So while our homes and the television flashes with the image of IPL glamour and the billions flowing in the cricketing fanfare these days, these farmers, their own children, are enduring with skipped meals and missing schools. We know the irony, it's stark. Even while the nation, our India, celebrates record food grain production, as some may argue, the individuals who cultivate this plenty, they are sinking under the weight of financial debt. So how is it happening? Their plows, their ancestral gold, jewelry, tractors, which are symbol of self-reliance, they are being sold to cover medical expenses. In the far-fetched land, in the far-fetched farms of our vast country, land, traditionally a source of pride and security, is mortgaged to afford essential pesticides. And then comes the tragic death of a farmer which only initiates a cold and insensitive bureaucratic process of inquiry, eligibility, verification, and if at all the fortune favors the bereaved, a meager check of few thousand comes into their bank, and that can never replace a lost life. The most agonizing paradox remains now is the very people who feed the nation cannot afford to adequately feed their own family. But then our reports, our inquiries, and world's most rapidly expanding economy, India, the cultivators of this growth, they are reduced to mere statistics. And the irony and the problem with statistics is, statistics remove emotions from the facts. Still, all of us rely on statistics. Government projects statistics to glorify success. So in that flow, let me also throw some statistics, but merely with an intention to raise some conscience. Today's grim reality is further underscored by newspaper report of Hindu, April 23rd, and it is highlighting an alarming uptick in the farmers' suicide in Marathwada region during just first 3 months of this year. So the data from the Divisional Commissioner of Sambhajinagar, which was Aurangabad earlier, and it reveals that 269 farmers have committed suicide across 8 districts of Marathwada region. And this is a significant increase from last year, which was then 204 deaths. Beed district witnessed really a high suicide rate. It nearly doubled. And if you look at district-wise, Nanded 37, Parbhani 33, Dharashiv 31, Latur 18, Hingoli 16, Jhalna 13, and Beed, as we said, 71, Aurangabad 50. So these are statistics, but these are lives. We all missed this important news in our daily drama of the Godi media on the television as well as in the print media. Tragically, the aid received by families of these deceased farmers have been sorrowfully inadequate. With Jhalna, for instance, no aid has been dispersed, even though there have been more than a dozen suicides. And the situation in Marathwada in early this year only illustrates the overall systemic failure. And if you compare by the national average, we are talking about statistics, it is 31% increase in farmer suicides, and it is a crisis. delayed and inadequate government aid further compounds the tragedy, and 2.95 crore, so about 3 crore rupees was requested from the government for the compensation, and believe it or not, as per the report, only 18 lakh have been dispersed. So the disproportionate eligibility criteria and pending inquiries that leave the grieving families in limbo, and it only highlights also the administrative apathy and the inefficiency. Even when the aid is received, it is about 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh, while again the statistics is the average debt burden is over 3 lakh rupees. So this compensation is only symbolic. The crisis in Marathwada, with its history of drought and groundwater depletion, it mirrors the distress in the other agrarian hotspots like Vidarbha and Bundelkhand also. And there too, the farmers are in distress. If you look at the history, the issue of farmer suicides in India, it wasn't there until 1990s. This is relatively a new phenomenon, and it was first time reported by a brave journalist called Pahalgaam, where he highlighted the distress of the farmers in Karnataka. Although historical records do indicate that the farmer distress and the extreme hardship they undergo, it extends to colonial era, and that too with those land taxes and the devastating famines. While these historical crises resulted in widespread poverty and mortality, death directly classified as suicides due to agricultural distress are less documented, and maybe they have been wrongfully categorized as injuries or some other reasons. But interestingly, if you notice that the surge in reported farmer suicides began in late 1990s, and it coincides with India's economic liberalization, with a further significant increase observed after the turn of the century. So again, some statistics here which paints a harrowing picture. Between 95 and 2018, nearly 400,000 farmers in India took their own life. And if you look at an average, it is 48 suicides every day. Imagine what would happen to any government, to the entire emotion of the country, if 50 soldiers were killed every day on the Indian borders. In 2022 alone, more than 11,000 individuals in the farming sector, of which there were agricultural laborers and farmers together, they committed suicide. And again, if you look at the average, national average, death due to profession, farmers account for more than 6% of deaths by suicide. And further, the suicide rate among the Indian farmers is 47% higher than the national average. So something is seriously wrong, and this is not coming into the national debate as it should be. Geographically, if you look, the states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Madhya Pradesh, they have consistently a very high number of farmers committing suicide. In a big picture, farmer suicides in India are a complex issue, and there are many interconnected issues related to the farmers taking their own lives, and that includes the economic factors, the social factors, the governance, administration, and together it's a toxic mix of creating circumstances where the farmers are compelled to take their own lives. Economic distress is a primary factor, and it is characterized by crushing debt burdens incurred from loans. And why these loans are important? Because the loans have become essential to get seeds, fertilizers and pesticides, while it gets further worsened due to dependency on the monsoon and the climate change. Here comes another factor, the rising cost of essential inputs like the genetically modified seeds. Now, this is the biggest villain of the modern times, I would say. This has contributed to high prices and the annual repurchase of those seeds. Earlier, the farmers were using their crops, part of the crops as seeds. But in this case of GM seeds, the genetically modified seeds, the farmers are compelled to repurchase. And then for these special seeds, they have to buy the fertilizers and the special pesticides. So together, it is squeezing the profit margins of the small and marginal farmers. The government schemes have a very limited access to the financial credit the farmers get. Therefore, the farmers turn and rely on the exploitative and the informal lenders, while the land fragmentation continues, and therefore the productivity and the income potential decreases. So there's this whole economics and the social factor that is coming into the play. India is a traditional society. And then there are family issues like illness and the pressure of social obligations like marriage and traditional festivals. They too contribute to the financial strains and the mental stress. There is a detrimental social stigma and humiliation associated with the financial debt. But the government policies and the administrative issues are not helping much. If you remember, the current government had a slogan of doubling the farmer's income. Where is that? Inadequate irrigation facilities, that's impairing reliance on unpredictable monsoons, and issues like minimum support price that do not benefit or provide the intended protection to the farmers. Although there are many schemes, but they are all in a bad shape. The Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi that provides a direct income support of roughly 6,000 rupees annually, about 60 euros annually. So out of 12 crore farmers of India, about 123 million, 98 million, 9.8 crore farmers get the benefit of Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme. But the challenges remain in identifying the beneficiary, and there are leakages. The other scheme, which came with lots of fanfare, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Man Dhan Yojana, which was supposed to offer a pension, old age pension to the farmers of India, only 2% have been registered. So while the government can claim the success of the scheme, on paper, the ground reality is dismal. Similarly, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, Kisan Credit Card Scheme, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana and Soil Health Card. These are schemes which do not make any difference to the livelihood of the farmers. The irony is that India, despite boasting the highest arable land globally with 50% of the landmass cultivable, faces a profound paradox of productivity, growth, economic value and the financial status of the farmers. The continuous loss of life is a devastating cost of failing to address the deep-rooted flaws in Indian agricultural landscape. Then there are foreign university-educated politicians who want to change the landscape of India's economics from an agricultural society to a service-oriented economy, and that failure of policies and government's resolve to take care of those who feed the nation is astonishing. With all this happening, when the farmers protest, as we witnessed during the prolonged agitation in 2020 and 2021 against the newly enacted farm laws aiming to deregulate agricultural market and the MSP, these farmers have to not only endure the harsh weather and the barrage of disapproving labels like terrorist and Khalistani and separatist and Maoist and the friends of enemy nations, they had to suffer a tragic loss of over 700 lives. This is no better than living in the British Raj. It will not be wrong to say that while our farmers continue to live in British Raj, rest of India ignorantly enjoys the cricketing season with an opium of glamour and false happiness. Something needs to be done for the farmers of India. We cannot let them die. We cannot let them commit suicide. We cannot ignore them. With those thoughts to ponder upon, I leave you until next week. Stay safe, stay informed, and dutifully ask questions. Bye for now.
93.9 Dublin South FM.
Indeed, this is Dublin South FM. Welcome back to the program. And another heartbreaking, heart-wrenching story about the farmer's suicide. I remember two films that I have screened here in the film festival. One was the Peoply Live, and, you know, wonderfully, and in fact, we were the opener of the film festival in 2012. And its director, Anusha Rizvi, she came here. It was directed by her, a debut film. After that, she never directed any film, because rightly so, because she and producer Amir Khan fell over of the details of that films and things like that. Some business arrangement or something went wrong between the two. Anyway, going back to another film that I've screened back in 2010, when we launched the first Indian Film Festival of Ireland here in Dublin, was the summer of 2007, directed by Suhail Tatari. Now, that film was acted by Sikandar Kher and Anupam Kher's son, and also the wonderful actress called Gul Panag, who was my guest of the festival. The director came, Suhail Tatari came, and all that. So in that context, both films were actually highlighting the problem of a decade is gone. Obviously, 15 years is gone. Nothing has changed. Things got more convoluted and more complex in those things that is happening, such as Monsanto, the people who are enforcing the farmers to buy the grains and things like that. What happens here in Ireland, let me give you a little bit of shed, is that we also have a farming community. Ireland is also an agriculturally driven country, and our farmers are very important people. So in 2024, I mean this year in February, Enough is Enough protest has been organized by the beginning of the 2024 by the Irish Farmers Association, which is a very powerful lobby group. IFA, we call it. There's an Irish Farmer General there. An Irish Farmers Association launched a series of protests across the Republic of Ireland, echoing similar actions by farmers in other EU countries. Why? Because there are two reasons for that. A, these protests, often involving tractors outside the country's county council meetings, aimed to highlight farmers' frustration with rising input cost, increased environmental regulations, and what they perceived as excessive red tape and bureaucracy from the other EU countries and the governments vis-a-vis from Brussels and the Irish government itself. So in order to complain all that, they organized that and they successfully overcome those sort of things. Secondly, the number 2 point that another point was that IFA emphasized a feeling that farmers were being regulated out of business. Now, this is a very serious allegation. It was. And I mean, imagine the hands which feeds you. If you're trying to chop those hands, what will happen? You would not get the bread on the shelf. You would not get the vegetables on the shelves of the supermarket. But no, they have no respect for that kind of thing. And Indian farmers are continuing they take the loan against the land. Recently, I saw a clip of Who Wants to Be the Millionaire, Kaun Banega Crorepati. A mother and 2 daughters came, and the daughter was sitting in the hottest seat contesting the questions. And they were from UP, Uttar Pradesh, and they owned some land. And of course, they were not exactly farmers, but the orchards. They have mango orchards and all that. And their husband has died. The man of the house has passed away. So the older daughter took Fatima, her name was Fatima, and that episode is available on the YouTube if you really want to watch it. Delectable, wonderful, bright young lady. She sat on the hot seat and won over 1 crore rupees because they were loaded with the debt. They had to borrow the money from the loan sharks in order to pay the expenses of running the orchard or farm or whatever they had that. But and on all they wanted was something like 20 lakh rupees or 30 lakh rupees or 50 lakh rupees, I think it was. But when she won the 1 crore, they were really over the moon. Very simple people. The mother came on the stage and she was talking to Mr. Bachchan and all that. Beautiful, beautiful episode. So that puts you in perspective of what's going on in India when it comes to the farmers and farmers' plight. So that's what it is. And indeed, such a sad state of affair. How do I recompense all of that with such a slightly uplifting mood? So I will be playing Gazals today, and hopefully you will enjoy them. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this particular track.
तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया, जिंदगी धूप तुम घना साया। तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया, जिंदगी धूप तुम घना साया। तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया। आज फिर दिल ने एक तमन्ना की, आज फिर दिल ने एक तमन्ना की, आज फिर दिल को हमने समझाया, आज फिर दिल को हमने समझाया। जिंदगी धूप तुम घना साया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया। तुम चले जाओगे तो सोचेंगे, तुम चले जाओगे तो सोचेंगे, हमने क्या खोया, हमने क्या पाया, हमने क्या खोया, हमने क्या पाया। जिंदगी धूप तुम घना साया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया। हम जिसे गुनगुना नहीं सकते, हम जिसे गुनगुना नहीं सकते, वक्त ने ऐसा गीत क्यों गाया, वक्त ने ऐसा गीत क्यों गाया। जिंदगी धूप तुम घना साया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया।
मेरे भाइयों, तुमको देखा तो ये ख्याल आया, जिंदगी धूप और तुम घना साया. You know, these days, these type of love affairs and these type of imaginations are dying, to say the least. You don't really get to know anybody, in fact, at that level. And if you, in fact, admire somebody at that level, that turn out to be a disappointment, because people have become strange creatures. Do you know, the new thing is people are trying to actually get you on the WhatsApp, and these are the girls actually that are sitting in, say, for instance, in Berlin or in Paris or some European country. They come over here as a student, and no disrespect to the students, and then they get jobs and things like that, and then they start working on short-term trading, so to speak, on cryptocurrency. Now, playing a dirty game with other people as well, and trying to entice other people, particularly in a cross-love format, that they will try to attract the opposite sex men and ask them to join the crypto platform. And look, I have made €7,000 profit in short term. I can move my fingers so fast to do this kind of thing. And they discreetly talk to you. They never actually tell you where do they live, what do they do. They do also have some other jobs too, but this is their part-time job. In the evening, they sit on their computers and on the phones to play and to suss the market, and they become, sort of like market analyst, and they are trading, so to speak. Not trading, what trading? Trading. So you put your money into it and you trade with them. And what happens to your money? God knows. Sometime it could be siphoned away from your bank. Sometime you learn the hard way if you attempt to do something like that. But they pretend that they are your well-wishers. They pretend to be your lovers. They pretend that they can go out with you if you are partners and things like that. And they're all singles. They're all sometimes divorcees. They are separated. They don't have partners. They don't have, and they have relatives in the same city, either the aunt or uncle. And this is another, a trap that they will say, oh, I've been told or I've been learning from my uncle or my aunt. And so who knows who they are, what they do, and they try to entice you. And this came to my attention recently by a very close friend of mine who was getting hooked into one of those characters. And then very quickly when he was unable to actually download the crypto, and he said, look, fuck off. So excuse my expression. I don't mean to say on air. I don't want to download crypto. I don't like crypto. I don't play in crypto. So, and then all of a sudden they disappear. And that happens that now, in the old days, you meet a girl, you meet a boy, you get on with each other, we meet, take coffee, first step, coffee or drink or whatever, soft drink. Then next step is dinner, you take them out for dinner or lunch, and then so on and so forth, and you work away from there. If you click, you get on, and if you don't click, you split up. But this is another world we're living in now, the world of mobile phone and app and download these cryptocurrency kind of things. So beware of that. I'm just warning you that if you'd ever get trapped into it, just be streetwise and try to be as clever as possible on that, and try to meet them first. If they're genuine, they will. And why do they insist you to get involved? Just because your bank account will be accessible, your money will be accessible, and you'll be betting it like a gambler. €400 or 300 euros or whatever. And the more you gamble, the more you can make too, But where that crypto money goes, crypto money is a funny money, basically, as we call it. But anyway, that's by the by. I came to know about it because these things do come across my desk all the time. Anyway, there's another track that I would like to take and sit back, relax, and enjoy this particular track. कभी यूं भी तो
कभी यूं भी तो हो ये बादल ऐसा टूट के बरसे मेरे दिल की तरह मिलने को तुम्हारा दिल भी तरसे तुम निकलो घर से कभी यूं भी तो हो कभी यूं भी तो हो तन्हाई हो दिल हो बूंदे हो बरसात हो और तुम आओ कभी यूं भी तो हो कभी यूं भी तो हो दरिया का साहिल हो पूरे चांद की रात हो और तुम आओ कभी यूं भी तो हो 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 ये बता दे मुझे जिंदगी प्यार की राह के हम सफर किस तरह बन गए अजनबी
ये बता दे मुझे जिंदगी फूल क्यों सारे मुरझा गए किस लिए बुझ गई चांदनी ये बता दे मुझे जिंदगी
कल जो बाहों में थी और निगाहों में थी अब वो गर्मी कहाँ खो गई कल जो बाहों में थी और निगाहों में थी अब वो गर्मी कहाँ खो गई
ना वो अंदाज है ना वो आवाज है ना वो अंदाज है ना वो आवाज है अब वो नरमी कहाँ खो गई
ये बता दे मुझे जिंदगी प्यार की राह के हम सफर किस तरह बन गए अजनबी ये बता दे मुझे जिंदगी बेवफा तुम नहीं बेवफा हम नहीं फिर वो जज्बात क्यों सो गए बेवफा तुम नहीं बेवफा हम नहीं फिर वो जज्बात क्यों सो गए
प्यार तुमको भी है प्यार हमको भी है प्यार तुमको भी है प्यार हमको भी है
जी मेरे भाइयों जगजीत सिंह चित्रा सिंह एंड ये बता दे जिंदगी के फूल क्यों मुरझा गए these are the real words of a real poet and the best of the ghazals of 2023 in fact that I will be playing today and I've chosen to play today in fact Another ghazal I would like to play before the program finishes off, because the time is really racing against me, and I am under pressure to finish the program literally now. But I really like to get another half of the ghazal, if not the full, to you, so you can enjoy the program. So that's all, folks. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Sharad, for contribution. Thank you, Charmain, for lovely news item all the way from India, about India this week. And of course, thank you very much, Lee Brennan, for putting together the whole show as a technician of the show. And that's all from Apna Radio this week, broadcasting at 93.9. This is your own local broadcaster, Siraj Zaidi, broadcasting from Dundrum Town Centre. You're very welcome to the program anytime. If you're in Dundrum or would like to visit me in the studio, you are most welcome and be my guest. Yes, I will bring some guests. That's a surprise to who I bring next. But from time to time, guests do drop in here, and that's what it happens. But today, that's all, folks, we have, and I hope you like the show. If you forget to tune me in, I shall be sharing the details of the show. Never mind, it will be uploaded on the YouTube as well, my own channel, Apna Dublin Radio, Apna Radio Dublin, or Dublin Apna Radio, whatever you type it on YouTube channel, and you will get that information. So all back programs will be on the YouTube as well. So that's all. Bye for now. Thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend. And indeed, enjoy the sun, because while it's shining, really is the hottest day of the April. So there you go. Bye for now.
मुझे गम है कि मैंने जिंदगी में कुछ नहीं पाया, ये गम दिल से निकल जाए अगर तुम मिलने आ जाओ, ये गम दिल से निकल जाए अगर तुम मिलने आ जाओ। ये दुनिया भर के झगड़े